Well, let the record state that the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast is back on the air. Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Kelly, along with our host and creator, Casey Thompson. And it's time, Casey, for us to fill in our viewpoints on the weird, wild world of professional wrestling with so much going on right now in the industry. And it really goes back to one of your main themes, that everything old is new again. It's never
Yeah.
ending.
It's a never-ending cycle. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's you know, and
Oh my God, my dog is trying to break in the studio right now.
Good. It's about time.
Bella, go lay down.
No, Bella, do a run in.
She's about to. So if you start seeing lights and cameras flying, it's Bella's doing the impromptu run in. So
Bella's 15 minutes of fame. It's about time.
here it comes. Here it comes. Oh,
just get her to sit up there, bud.
Chairs just got knocked down, and she's coming up. Come on.
This is going to be an exciting Bella debut here on the podcast. And
let's see.
Now that we've moved up, we're probably at about, I don't know, 25, 30 episodes now. Ooh, what up?
There she is.
Hi,
hi, everyone, Bella. She's the most precious thing in the world.
Now, what breed of dog?
She is an American Bulldog.
Okay.
Yes, and she is probably 11 and a half years old. So she is, she's probably the most perfect dog there is.
Yeah?
I mean, everything is just amazing about this dog. It's, oh, she's looking. But, and how, I see you got a new puppy. How's I know the puppy stages are very rough, and I would never want to, I think I would want to have a kid before a puppy again.
Yeah.
So how's that going for you?
Well, the dog never really had a puppy stage because it was like cage kept in some hoarder home, and we rescued it. So when he got here, he decided to have his puppy stage, and everything's been fine. He's a doll and a delight and wonderful, except he's now chewed 2 of my CPAP masks. And
you wear a mask too, huh?
Yeah, I have the nose.
So do I.
The nose gimmick.
Yep.
And with the Air Mini that I have, the replacement deal is like $170. So, yeah. So
yeah,
I'm not a fan.
Very costly.
Yeah.
I imagine the majority of professional wrestlers wear a CPAP, have sleep apnea.
And is that because of the numbers of times that you've gotten their nose broken?
You know what? Years ago, I was in the best shape of my life, and I would be sitting there talking, and I was just like, just doze off. And I was accused of being on drugs. I mean, everything you could think of. I'm like, I'm not doing drugs, trust me. And come to find out, one of my buddies, a friend of ours that I worked for, I've spoke about before, the Incredible Thor, Todd. He said, "You got sleep apnea, bro." And I'm like, "Really?" So I went and did a sleep study. Back then, you had to have 15 interruptions in an hour in order to be considered for insurance to pay for it. I had well over 60. So my brain was just going crazy. I was like dying to be able to sleep. So they put all these gadgets all over you. You look like a freak show. You go to sleep, they wake you up, and I'm like, did I fall asleep? They're like, yeah. So they put a mask on you. So now they want to gauge to see where your levels need to be. So I fall back asleep. I wake up from like 4 hours of wearing the mask. And you got to realize this is so many years of having sleep apnea, and you've been through it, so you know that 4 hours. I thought I was like a brand new person. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh my gosh! And then the thing that really gets you, the gimmick is now you got to wait 6 weeks for yours to come through the mail. So you go from that of sleep. This is how it was, 20 some years ago, 25 years ago. So you go from finding out you have it, yes. And then you sleep for 4 hours and you feel like you're $1 million, and you got to wait 6 weeks to get it. So, and then once you get it, I don't know about you, it was brutal. They had me on like high, like diazepam, like Valium and stuff like that. Cause I would wake up and throw it across the room. I would elbow my wife. I would like, cuddling with it. I mean, it's crazy stuff. Cause you're putting all that,
right.
So it's not the most, easiest conducive thing to do. But my buddy always makes fun of me. Is like, because we were moving my daughter into her new apartment this weekend, so he helped me for the move. And he's like, "Hey, once you put your CPAP mask on, I'm gonna you can put on the aviator sunglasses like you're a Top Gun, the pilot and everything." I'm like, "Yeah," I said, "I don't think
Yeah,
so, bud."
I've always had just the part that covers the nose, because
Yeah.
it just felt more comfortable to me, and that's the way I've done it, and it's been okay. Of course, when I first, like 2005, when I started on it, they prescribed Ambien for me so
Okay.
that I could sleep, but the Ambien
Right.
screwed me up more than the sleep
Ah,
apnea was. Like
yeah.
I was grinding my teeth,
Oh wow.
and I'd wake up in the morning and my jaw would be almost like clenched. And yeah, so that took a while to get used to. And now it's to the point where I'm kind of like back in that my brain is still turning while I'm sleeping because I'm not sleeping
Right.
deeply. So
Yeah.
therefore, so there's a good chance, Casey, that you could pretty much convince me of anything on this show because my brain is not all there. But
Oh
I
wow.
know that
What?
we had talked about where to go and different directions and what to do for this episode. And one thing that I always kind of go back to is I think my favorite wrestling character, probably, if I could say that, over the last 10 or 15 years has been Cody Rhodes.
Sure.
And
Yeah, you always great things to say about Cody.
yeah, and not, not just as a wrestler and as a guy, but just the depth and dimension to his character. It's really
Yeah.
underrated. And so, of course, the big swerve and curves at SummerSlam take place.
Right.
And now here we are in a post WWE. The TKO takeover is complete, really, now they say, with Brock Lesnar having returned. But then that got us talking about all the second generation guys that
Oh my
are
gosh.
in the business. And
Yeah,
the
it's
numbers,
crazy.
so I mean, the numbers are kind of staggering when we think about it, but it seems like wrestlers are having babies and they grow up to be wrestlers. What's that country song? Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be
Grow up
cowboys.
to be cowboys. Yeah.
Now,
It's
okay, so when your son Chase was probably what, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, what percentage of likelihood would you have said when Chase is done with amateur wrestling, he's going to go into professional wrestling?
wow. I think it was very likely at one point. Put it this
Mm-hmm.
way, when my wife at the time was pregnant, so Chase's mom was pregnant with him. We ran it. We were at Kevin Sullivan's gym opening, and Hulk Hogan, she was pregnant and trying to get something off the shelf. And he's like, "No, no, no, mom, let me
Mm-hmm.
get that for you," because he's taller and all this stuff. And he's like, "Oh, we have a little wrestler in there." And she's like, "Don't, no,
Mm-hmm.
stop, don't. You jinxed me," So, and then I posted the picture on one of the shorts before where I was actually one of my last matches. I was wrestling and I was holding Chase, and Chase was chopping the guy. He was real stiff with his chop too.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So
Just like
because
his
I always
father.
chopped Chase growing up, and I was pretty, I laid in pretty hard. I mean, he's still to this day, he can take a chop. So, I mean,
Does he throw his chest open or does he kind of turn?
no, he kind of does like this. I'm like,
Okay.
stop, just open up and lay back. Now it used to be you leave it open and everything, but now he's trying to, try to hurt me. So, but yeah, so at one point we thought he would, and I tell you what, that kid could do a perfect drop kick, turn, land on your belly and everything, and I could
Mm-hmm.
too. I was as our my good friend Joe Gomez. He would say, Case, you've had one of the best drop kicks I've ever seen in wrestling. Back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll
Was
have
it
Joe
kind
on
of a
there
Dick?
one.
Yeah, was it a Dick Murdoch drop kick? Was it, or
It
did
was
you?
Rocky Johnson, but better.
Oh my gosh! Now, okay,
Yes, yes, sir.
that's that's a heck of a drop kick.
Oh yeah. It
I'm
was
kind of imagining
on the
just
money.
that quick little turn and the feet go up,
See, I had a really good vertical, and I just jumped straight up, pulled my knees out, turn, whoop. I mean, I would do it on WCW on TV all the time, and every time the announcer would be like, "Oh, look at that drop kick!" Thompson with the drop kick.
Very nice.
Yeah. I mean,
All
Alex
right.
Wright, I'd drop kick him right in the face, and he was like 6'4", 6'5". He was a tall, lanky kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd tag him right in the face.
Damn, son.
Yes.
So it looked like, okay, so at one point, yeah, Chase probably your son Chase probably would have gotten into wrestling.
Right.
And when you look at Cody and Dustin Rhodes, of course with their father, and it was
Yeah.
not an easy. There were some bumps, especially with Dustin,
Yeah.
and some
It
self-inflicted
wasn't
wounds
clicking.
and some
Nothing was
pressure.
gelling at the beginning. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's big shoes to fill, though. Phil, you have,
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes, one of the most charismatic, and I'm just hitting everything tonight. Most charismatic wrestlers of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big shoe to step into. Even like our friend Blackjack Mulligan, another one just like that for Barry and Kendall, and they didn't have the charisma that Blackjack had.
Right. Barry's the greatest second generation. We got to be careful because I know we're going to be forgetting somebody, but he's got to be up there. Well, I mean, obviously, if you look at, say, Bret Hart
Right.
is a second generation wrestler.
Sure.
Um,
Who would be
he's
your
at the
top
top.
five? Before we end the show tonight, let's do our top 5 second generation wrestlers.
Okay, I think that's
So
fair.
give a
There's
little time to think about it.
yeah. When you look at the pressure to perform, a
Yeah.
recent example is Brian Pillman Jr., Lexus
Right.
King, in NXT, and having spent some time with him and talked with him a little bit, it's pressure cooker to
Oh, really?
be. It doesn't seem to be easy. Now, it might be easy to get bookings,
Right.
but the pressure to live up to your last name or the standard set by your family can
Right.
be enormous. And if you're a green guy trying to figure out how to get through the wrestling business and try to figure out how to put together matches, hell, to figure out how to get to towns and put your gear
Right.
on, it can be a daunting challenge to be
Eh,
the son of
And I would
somebody.
sure, and I would imagine, say, someone like him that didn't have his father to grow up, to tell him about the business. He's kind of like a wrestler that has a father that was a wrestler.
Yeah.
He didn't have the perks of being a second generation wrestler like Cody has with having his father there, you know, most of his, adult life, most of his career to be able to, whether you listen to him or not. We know Dustin kind of went off the rails, did things that Dusty didn't like, going to, WWF and becoming Gold Dust, that caused a lot of tension between the two. So, but like for instance, Cody was able to talk to his dad and tell me why do you do your promos this way, and learn the psychology of the business, because like we both know, you learn so much from legends and veterans and guys like that. You can learn so much just by sitting there talking to them,
Right.
learning from that tree of knowledge and everything. So, but Brian Pillman Jr., as we know, didn't have that. So I would imagine the pressure is even more because people expect him to perform that way when he didn't have the advantages that other second generation wrestlers have had.
You're studying the tapes and the legend. You're hearing the
Yeah.
anecdotes, but you're not really getting to speak to the person.
Right.
And the other thing too that I always kind of go back to is, especially with wrestlers of Dusty and Blackjack's era, they were it was so ingrained in them to protect the business that
Yeah.
how much were they willing to let their guard down and let Virgil Runnels talk to his sons about
Right.
the industry that they all three are in, as
Sure.
opposed to Dusty Rhodes telling his boys how the American dream is over. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
gotta be, especially with the older generation, it had to be
Yeah.
a thing of how much can I tell my son?
Yeah. And then you have like The Rock, his father was Rocky Johnson, but his grandfather was, Chief Peter
Peter Ma-
Maivia.
Peter Maivia, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a third generation wrestler.
Yep.
And now, me knowing Rocky very, very well before he passed, I spent many years, babysitting Rocky. Of course, he taught The Rock everything he knew.
Of
You know,
course.
that's how Rocky is. And if you knew Rocky and everything, you just kind of just rolled with it and laughed it off and everything, because um, the old saying, basically if he's talking, he's lying. That's kind of how it was with him. But it's cool when you know that stuff going into it. It's all right. So you
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, and he'll give the wink when he's talking to someone new. He'll look back and give us the wink that he's like ribbing the guy and everything. But but that's a third generation wrestler. I mean, that whole family makes the legacy of wrestling and the generations crazy, because I looked at that family tree, and that's a confusing thing going all the way up, and it branches all over the place. There
Right.
must be at least 30 people in that, cousins, brothers, father, sons. So you
It
got
was always,
Rikishi and his boys.
yeah. And then you have, of course, part of the up updraft is Afa and Sika,
And Sika. Yep.
and above them, over to the side, is Peter Maivia.
Yep.
But they're all kind of related at the top of the tree, at the root of the tree, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
And then it all starts to filter down with the various branches and the sons having sons and now grandsons,
Yeah.
and not just one or two, it's six.
Right.
They've all got, half a dozen, it seems like,
Haku has a
boys.
couple in there.
Who does?
Haku? What's he have?
Ha-
3 boys wrestling?
Haku has 3 boys that all wrestle, and
Wow.
that's Tama.
And one of
That's,
them's like what, 6'9"?
yeah, Tala. And they all 3 were encouraged to go do something else.
Oh, of
So
course.
Tama
Yeah.
Tonga went to the Air Force, and Tangaloa went to play football at UTEP, and even Tala, when he came out of school, he was at 6'9". He was a basketball player. He went and played basketball in college, but all 3 circled back to get into the wrestling business. Not every second generation wrestler is a star, and not
Sure.
every second generation wrestler is a real second generation guy. There, how much did you know that so and so was saying that they were related to, or that they were the son of this famous wrestler, when actually maybe that was a
Oh,
little bit
yeah.
of a tall tale? Quite a bit, huh?
Oh, yeah. Especially when you have different little independent or outlaw groups, they would you can't I'll give you for an example, my old partner Cliff Cliff
Mm-hmm.
Anderson,
Yes.
because he looked a little like Arn. He was an Anderson. So he looked at one guy and said, "You're Abby," because he looked like Abdul the Butcher. He would like call this one guy this or that. And Jerry Gray was the same way. He had the Anvil. Terry Hart was his name. They
God.
had so many different characters that were knockoffs, and of course, everyone had a Doink the Clown,
Yes. Now, if
because
Doink had
that's
children,
the easiest one.
if Doink had children in the wrestling business, if you look at Phil Apollo and Steve Lombardi and all the Doinks that
Steve
uh,
Kern.
Kern, and then Chris Nelson played Doink sort of quite a bit on the independent level in
Yeah.
Florida, and didn't trying to think of another Florida guy who played Doink quite a bit. I can't remember his name. I can almost picture him without the gimmick on. Of course, the original Doink was Matt Bourne. Yeah. Now, was he a second generation guy, or am I making that
I
up?
want to say yes, he was. Yes.
I can't remember who his dad was in the business.
He kind of falls in that same category as Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. When he died, people are like, "Oh, thank God!"
Right.
You know, two guys that were really, really hated in the wrestling business. That
but we're
people
freaking
just
awesome.
did not care for them.
No. Can you imagine the headache that Ole had when he put them together in Georgia as a team?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And no wonder why, you know, Matt had to leave the territory in the dead of night, and Buzz was always in trouble. My God, what a toxic combination.
Now look at someone like Teddy Hart. You talk about someone that's a second generation wrestler that didn't make it, had all the talent in the world, a great wrestler, just couldn't get along with the rules.
Yeah,
follow the script, you know.
Teddy, you know, technically third generation.
Okay.
Even though his mother did not wrestle, she was a Hart sister. Basically, the whole family was involved in the business.
Right.
It may have had the most natural ability, most natural athletic ability of all the Harts.
Right. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Could not get out of his own way and his own immaturity and his own substance abuse to be able to make the right decisions to apply those skills. I know that Owen told me, he's like, why do you even bother? Why are we even bothering giving Teddy another chance? Like,
oh, wow.
This is your family, you know, I'm thinking. And he was like, he's not worth it.
He wrote him off, huh?
Yeah. Don't waste a spot. And Brett was a little bit more like, let's see if we can get him in a structured situation, and he will, you know, because this is what he wants to do. Maybe this will be what straightens him out. And it never was. But nobody was harmed in the making.
This down to which one was the best out of the Harts.
Mm-hmm.
Which one was the best out of the Samoans?
Some of the largest families.
You can even do Blackjack and the Mulligans, because you have Kendall Berry, you have Bray Wyatt, you have Bo Dallas. We have a lot of stuff that we can.
Well, you can also throw Mike Rotunda in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
As the in-law
father. Mm-hmm.
And you look at the largest families in wrestling. Obviously, the Samoan dynasty, the Harts, and then the Fullers, Welch, Fields from Tennessee, Gulf Coast, Alabama, and a lot of them did various jobs, a lot of referees. But you know, then of course, you know, the Armstrongs. If you just look at a very simple straight line from Bob to his four sons, and I mean, you can't argue with Brad's the guy that people say is the best wrestler, and Road Dogg is one of the most entertaining guys who's a big time producer in WWE. So that's pretty good. They don't have
talent.
Yeah, they had some talent, albeit not with the volume or numbers of the other families, because you know, the Hart family had 20 some odd members, and of course the Fullers, Fields, Welches, they had, you know, upwards of 30. And Samoans, as you mentioned earlier on, they have about 30 people that are on the wrestling tree of multiple generations. And here I am, just an only child, Casey.
Oh, wow.
Just had to figure out my own way. Now, okay, so in your time in wrestling, did you notice that, would you say overall it was easier or more difficult on the second generation guys to get a break? Did you feel more pity and pressure for the second generation guys that weren't over and that weren't making it, with just sort of a hand wave? Well, of course Barry Windham is great. Look at who his father is, you know?
I mean, I guess it would depend, but no, I mean, to answer your question, I think it was though in my day it was much easier if you were a second generation wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I remember setting up the ring at Championship Wrestling from Florida. I was 12 years old. right before Kendall broke into business, and Kendall broke in it right out of high school. He used to come to the matches and sit on the table behind, by the bell where I was just chilling. People knew who he was and everything. So shortly after he broke in, um, you it's funny because then you take someone like Jerry Briscoe's kid,
Wes.
He had multitude of chances and kind of nothing really happened with him.
How
He's a
about
nice kid, nice
yeah?
guy.
How about Briscoe, Flair, and Wyndham? How about those three names in the wrestling business?
Ooh,
And we've got
well,
Wes Briscoe, we've got David Flair, and we've
yeah,
got Kendall Wyndham.
yeah.
And for different reasons, yeah, it just didn't work out.
But then you have Barry Windham,
Right.
which is my most underrated. I think Barry Windham is in his prime was probably one of the best wrestlers there was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and nowadays you have Charlotte Flair, which male or female roster, she's one of the best wrestlers in the business. So
Correct.
you have, it's funny, you have Blackjack had one son that really didn't do anything, one son that was great. Flair had one son that did nothing, two sons that really did nothing,
Right.
and a daughter that's a mega superstar.
I don't
So
know
it's
what Reed's ceiling was in the business. He had a higher floor
right,
than David.
right. Oh
And
yeah, he did a lot better than. I mean, the thing with David got pushed in, and he was not ready, and he knew he wasn't ready.
right.
And but are you going to say no to the opportunity? I wouldn't.
And from what I was told, that one of the most heartbreaking days in Rick's life, and this is when Vince Russo was there, so I still had pipeline, hearing
Right.
anecdotes and stories coming back as to what was going on. That Rick trying to teach David the figure four, and he just couldn't get it. And Rick finally got so frustrated he had to leave the ring. And that everybody felt bad for Rick
Oh my
because
God.
his son couldn't figure out how to put on Dad's favorite hold. And it's like not everyone is born great and born to do it. But there again, he was given opportunity and he tried hard and he had a good attitude. He wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't a creep or a
Oh, he was nice.
malcontent. Everybody liked David and everybody
Kevin,
felt bad.
Can you do the figure four? Do you know
Sure,
how
of
to
course
do
I
it?
can. Yes, of course I can.
You know how I learned? I did it on my
How?
fingers.
Yeah.
When I
I
was
always
young.
did.
Whoop, whoop,
Yeah,
whoop,
I
whoop.
always did the figure four with my fingers.
Ow.
Yeah,
Too
don't
stiff
do
on
that.
myself.
It hurts. But yeah, you look at the way Jack Briscoe put the figure four on and the way he did it versus Mike Graham versus Dusty versus whatever.
Yeah.
Then of course
Mike Graham
you look
had a funny
at
way of doing it.
yeah, he was sort of like he would scramble the legs standing
He'd
still.
crisscross it and slip his in and fall back.
Right.
I've been in that figure four from Mike Graham, by the way.
I bet. And we haven't even talked about one of the greatest wrestling families when we think about championship legacy, the only brothers to hold the NWA World Heavyweight title, the Funks. And you had Dory Sr., and then of course Dory Jr. and Terry.
Yeah.
And that's where their family tree ends. But both were certainly influential in trying to help others get opportunities and get over.
Sure.
And you look at what Dory Funk
were
Jr.
you up
did.
there when Dory used to train guys with Pritchard, right? Dr. Tom?
The Funkin' Dojo. And it was pretty cool. Because it was the way to let's verify. We know that, let's say Ron Hutchinson, who's a well-known trainer from Canada. We know Ron says that this guy is good or that guy is good. And in this case, it was Edge and Christian. We know that he says they're good. But let's just have them come down and walk through with us, and we can verify how we like them, how we feel they're going to get along with the locker room, because it's more than just talent and ability. It's likability as well.
Sure.
And you have to have, but there again, a guy like Christopher Daniels, and as we all know, Hall of Fame career, Christopher Daniels blew up his shot with the WWF when he was cutting a pretend promo against a pretend match that was involving Dory Funk Jr., and Christopher Daniels referred to Dory Funk Jr. as old.
Oh, my gosh.
And, of course, Marty Funk hit the roof.
No.
And
they're about 20 minutes from me.
And that was the end of old CD's chances in WWE.
Wow.
Although his name was constantly being brought up for different things. It was just going back to that. He just doesn't get it. He just doesn't know the right things to do.
During your time there, what's the biggest indie darling that name was thrown around a bunch that didn't get the opportunity or the chance? They just talked about him but never pulled the trigger. Is there anyone you can think of?
Reckless Youth got signed and was in Memphis for a while, but they never really did anything with him because Memphis was not set up the way OVW was.
Right. Was he making about $500 a week then?
Yep, probably.
Yeah.
And Jim Neidhart started training the guys, and that didn't last very long.
In Tampa?
No, this was in Memphis.
Jim Neidhart?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you take Jim Neidhart, his daughter. She's a superstar.
Sure is.
Yeah.
And as the extension of the Hart family may be
right.
Okay, Natty Neidhart, Natty Neidhart, and Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that those are the top two women professional wrestlers in the last 50 years.
Yeah, they took the women's wrestling to a different level by far. Just those two, their matches.
Right. They've been awesome. They set the table for so many others. And again, it was coming out of the Diva era. It was difficult for Natty, who was not the beauty queen that the others were, but certainly had the most athletic ability.
She had to get in shape and make herself look more appealing to fit into that role.
Right. And both
I'll tell you one that I really, really like. I watched second generation wrestler Tessa Blanchard. I saw her in a match in my
blocking
friend
myself from the heat.
the Sheik. He ran out in California in what is it, Pro Wrestling Ultra out in California. He ran a show. It was Tessa Blanchard versus Chelsea Green.
Okay.
And I don't watch many matches all the way from start to finish. This match was phenomenal. I mean, I watched all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've always liked Tessa. I know she gets she has a lot of self-inflicted wounds. With pointed opinions about different, using words that she shouldn't use. Nevertheless, she's talented.
How long are you supposed to be persecuted for something like that?
What is the statute of limitations on that? I don't know.
Look at Hulk Hogan, apparently to his death, and still people are talking about it. But, there's guys that have went to prison for armed robbery that are on TV.
Yeah.
WWE has hired a couple convicted felons.
Right. They've had they've
MVP,
MVP and Booker T.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing. You think some of it has to do with Tully being such an asshole too, that maybe like WWE like holds that against her. Well, you know what? Tully was an ass, and she has her own self-inflicted things. Let's not even waste our time with her.
Probably. I know the standard, and this will be a shock to you and to everyone, that women in professional wrestling are held to a different standard than the guys are when it comes to social media, when it comes to doing and saying different things. The threshold for tolerance is lower. Although it's kind of changed a little bit because, I was always worried that Jordynne Grace was never going to get an opportunity because she's been very pointed in social media. She has not said, she has said things that have created conversation, controversy, however you want to look at it. But it's never like she went out to try to denigrate, an entire subset of Americans or people from different places. She just has her own opinions. Anyway, but yeah, they grade on a curve when it comes to the women, and they're a lot more strict. So,
do you think
yeah,
with the
Tully
relationship with TNA now that Tessa Blanchard might have a better chance because of the working relationship? They might say, you know what, she seems to be doing okay. Let's give her a shot up here.
I think she's already in the wind, though. I think that
really?
I think that the short run that she had in TNA is over, and if she's not, and that says more to me about the WWE going, we don't want to do business with her.
Right.
And
is
that
she
might
out
be
of
the
TNA
case
already?
I think so.
Oh, I thought she was still there.
Unless she got hurt, which I don't know.
Okay.
But she was figured in for 2 pay-per-views ago, and then they had the record-setting crowd at Slammiversary, and she has not been on the TVs leading to the next pay-per-view. So I don't, unless she was hurt and I missed the story, which is entirely possible. I think it's a shame.
She's money, bro.
Yeah.
To me, that match I saw was enough for me to say, you know what, we'll deal with a little bit of the, you know how much BS they put up with the guys? Look at the Hardys, how much they tolerated from all the, Jeff getting drunk, going into the crowd, leaving the building. I mean, different scenarios like that they can't give her, a shot because, she might have said something she might not, should have said, and girls have hurt feelings and can't get over it.
Here's the type of person that Tessa Blanchard is, and this is from my own personal experience. Boys are having a couple of cocktails at the Tokyo Dome Hotel on the night before everybody goes home after Wrestle Kingdom and Dash, and Jay Briscoe dozed off in the hallway and didn't quite make it into his room, as it's happened before to all of us, except for those like Casey who don't drink. And Tessa Blanchard gets up, goes to the gym at like 6:30 in the morning, and she sees Jay Briscoe laying on the floor of the hallway in the Tokyo Dome. She goes back into her room. She gets a pillow and she gets a blanket, and she puts a pillow under Jamon's head and covers him with the blanket, and then she goes to the gym. That to me is that's the type of person that she is. She may say or do whatever and piss people off, but nobody was watching her at that moment. She has a good heart.
Yeah.
Wow,
that's a shame.
Jamin woke up, because Jamin woke up and was like, how did I get here, and how did this pillow and blanket get on me? I'm appreciative for it, but how did I get here? And then he kept asking questions, and finally Tessa said, I was the one. I brought that to you when I was going to the gym.
That's crazy.
So, again, so there's grading on a curve. There's second generation standard. There's heat from dad. And then, of course, you got to look at the most crazy, the most dysfunctional family of all time in wrestling, and they've made movies about it. Of course, the Von Erichs.
Yeah, that's true.
And
look at Lacey Von Erich.
Was she a true Von Erich? Was she somebody's daughter?
Carrie's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
And she was out there.
Right. And when but that was like an example of the dad pushing the sons, and far beyond, and turning a blind eye to bad behavior, putting undue pressure on them.
Just a crazy pressure.
Yeah, a whole.
Bugsy has told me stories where he'd go there, and what's the youngest one? Chris?
I think so.
Chris was so screwed up, and he was like 12 or 13 years old, that they would put him all the way at the top of the bleachers at the Sportatorium and just let him lay up there to sleep it off because he was trashed during the matches and everything.
Golly.
Yeah, it's
yeah, I mean, it's a whole
I've watched those movies with the Von Erichs and stuff, and the whole is crazy. The Iron Claw movie, the whole movie theater was full of younger kids, which caught me off. Like, I was surprised. And then I'm like, oh, great. These little kids are going to be little shitheads and make noise and all that stuff. Not a single word was said during the whole movie, except for me doing like, bullshit, the timeline, I mean, come on.
Kerry
I was
did
looking
not.
through some.
Kerry did
The
not wreck his
timeline was.
car. Yeah, he
Oh,
didn't wreck his car the night after beating Ric Flair for the belt.
no, because and that's one of the points I made out, because he made a loop through Florida I watched him defend the NWA World Title in Fort Myers, Lee County Civic Center, against Mike Rotunda. And I had the newspaper clipping for the advertisement and my ticket stub. I was seeing that last night when I was looking through some pictures and stuff like that. So I'm like,
yeah, and those are there's the good and the bad wrestlers,
right.
Talking to. And when I got a chance to meet Kevin Von Erich for the first time ever in my life, when he was at AEW, I walked over and I shook his hand and I said, man, it's just a pleasure to meet you after all these years. Part of my fandom when I was a teenager, and to see what you've done and see what you've overcome, and now to be here like this is pretty cool. And he couldn't have been nicer.
You think anything is going to happen with his boys, or they just don't have what it takes?
They have it. They don't have it.
They're not big though, right?
They're big dudes. They're going to get a lot of chances because of their size and their last name.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But unless they figure something out that's different, that's them, feel like they're wearing a cowboy hat, they're trying to be who they're not. They may not know who they are yet, and that's a problem. Because how long did it take me to figure out who I was, or you to figure out who you were? And I know that you started it. You knew what you wanted to be from when you were a kid, and I understand that.
Yeah, but it's still, for the first 5 years, I was just trying to figure out what was what, you know? 10 years even, really.
And so now those guys are, and from all accounts, everybody likes them. Everybody gets along with them, just like the Kazanas and NWA.
Yeah.
Their grandfather, of course, Joe Kazana, the promoter in Knoxville before Ron Fuller bought it. But let's look at two of what many experts have said are the two of the worst wrestlers of all time. And the fact that they are both second generation. One is okay. Go ahead.
David Flair has to be one of them.
Well, we've already covered him. Yeah.
Okay. So someone else.
If you got worse, top 5, David Flair's in it.
Yeah. Oh. Another second generation. Is he current or already gone?
Already gone.
Oh, already gone. Oh, wow. Second generation. Oh, you're talking about Brian, Jerry Lawler's kid.
No, he was good. He was good. Just people wanted to beat him up. He was a heater. But he was good. He was talented. No. So I'm thinking of 3, and they're, mix and match who you want to say is kind of the worst of all time. But obviously, George Goulas was the worst.
Oh,
and, Nick Goulas' dad. Well, yeah, he's in your top 5. He has to be in your top 5. But Greg Gagne was another one.
Oh, yeah, he used shits.
Yeah, who was, but
he wasn't bad. He just wasn't as good as he thought he was.
Correct. And he was booked to be more than he actually was talent-wise. Well, sure, of course, Greg can win the world title.
Mike Graham was, because he was consistent. They knew he could always depend on Mike being there in that territory. So, but Mike was a good worker, though. Really good.
He wasn't going to go and get over
in the business.
Yeah, but he was not going to go and get over in other places as a wrestler because he was kind of milquetoast on the mic, but he had the name in Florida and everybody knew him because they had seen him growing up.
Yeah, he was the toughest guy in his own mind.
Oh.
And I was good friends with Mike Graham, by the way. Really good friends with him.
That's.
But he was the toughest guy ever.
He won every fight.
Oh, he was. No one's tougher than Mike.
No, and
Mike would tell you too.
blow guys up every match,
Yeah.
and had his tongue hanging out of his mouth. I know I've heard some of those stories. I've heard stories
He was
about
hard
my
to hear in the ring. He was like, the whole time in
because
between
he's
falls.
grinding
I'm
your
like,
head.
okay. We right before we went out there, the half of the ring collapsed, so we only could work. Say it was a 18 by 18 ring, so we had 9 by 9 to work, and we could only work on 3 of the ropes. And we got through the match. It was a really good match. And he's like, "Wow, man!" He said, "Not many people would do that. Could be able to get through it." I'm like, "Well, let's go." So he was cool. He's a good guy. He's just you had to understand what you were dealing with.
Right. And then you throw so when you look at wrestlers that did not get over as second generation guys, you looking at some legendary names, and then but you can throw like Kurt Hennig's son, correct? Joe?
Yeah.
And he did not get over, and it seemed like they never wanted him to get over.
Yeah. Even Ted DiBiase's kid.
Right. That was where I was going to next. DiBiase's
okay.
kid, 2 of them.
But in that era, you have Randy Orton, which is a huge superstar. But it took him a while to get there.
But he caused nothing but problems at first. Now, you want to look at a double standard.
Right.
So Randy, as the story is famous now, went AWOL from the military because he didn't want to be in it, because he wanted to be a wrestler. Okay.
Wow.
And not a good look, but a different era and a different time. And
right.
It was not talked about beyond the small few group of people that knew it. But, that to me that speaks to character. So he's going to have to mature and grow beyond that. Then he was dealing with maturity issues with changing his look, not knowing who he was.
Yeah.
Getting tattoos, cutting his hair, shaving his head, coloring his hair. What is he doing?
I worked out with him once. WWE bring guys up. So D'Lo had me. I went up and D'Lo was like, "Yeah, I talked to Dr. Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So go see Johnny Ace. John Laurinaitis when you get there, Sergeant Slaughter and all that. Like, yeah, go into the ring, work out. It's kind of just whatever. So I really didn't know who he was at the time, and so we worked out for a little bit. Everything was fine, but yeah. Boy, has he grown and matured and turned his life around?
Yes, and I think but there again, would you have never gotten to know how great a wrestler and Randy Orton would have been, the career that he had, if we would have just thrown the baby out with the bathwater because a few misdeeds when they're young.
Right.
And
I mean, he had 9 lives. I wonder if there's someone there that could see the potential in him, or they just said, give him another shot, give him another chance.
Well, I think that there was no doubt about how great he would be. And probably if you're ranking the developmental guys in terms of sure superstardom, you had The Rock and Randy Orton were bona fide numbers 1 and 2.
Right.
And then you had
both
Brock Lesnar.
Third generation wrestlers.
Yeah. And you had Brock Lesnar right behind because of who he was, his size, and his championship, his look, everything.
Right.
And then you had Brock. Then after Brock, you had probably Shelton Benjamin, who was not supposed to be great, but was. And then you look at John Cena. So John was a little further down on the list. And even some people, like, I wonder if Cornette had Rico Constantino or Nick Dinsmore or Rob Conway above John Cena.
Sure.
He did. Cena was, because Cena was good, but what were we going to do with him?
I guess lucky Stephanie heard him rapping, huh?
That's all it took.
And it's that crazy how your life can change in the wrestling business. As good as you are, it doesn't matter sometimes. Sometimes it's just right place, right time, someone seeing you, they seeing you when something's in their head. Is just no rhyme or reason how people can lives be changed and become a huge superstar.
And yeah, that subjective part of the business is where a lot of people struggle, which may go back to our whole theme of how difficult it is or how easy it can be for second generation guys. Because it's not about measurables, Case. It's not how fast you run or how high you jump. It's whether or not somebody likes you.
Second generation wrestler. Billy Gunn's kids.
They're
Colton
awesome.
and Austin. They're doing good.
Yes, I agree.
They're hard workers though. Still to this day, they go to the school and work out when they're home. Help working out, help training kids and stuff. So, but they had a leg up because their dad was Billy Gunn.
Yeah.
Now, how many second generation wrestlers do you think would have made it as far as they did if it wasn't for their father or mother?
Well, how many looks would Owen Hart have gotten?
Yeah. Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah.
They're going to bring in a guy about this tall?
He's maybe a special case, but yeah, that point is right there. Would
Dean
even
Malenko.
within
another small guy.
Yeah, but Joe never got over. Was Dean way better than Joe?
I don't know. I think maybe because Dean got out there more, traveled more, did ECW. Jody or Joe stayed home. I think Jody was a deputy or something, a police officer.
So there is
so
real.
I think
there can be real life. When you look at the second generation within the Wyndham family, Bray Wyatt looked like a character, but just average fat slob at the gas station.
Sure. Yeah.
I think without the last name.
Yeah.
Dustin looked like something. Cody looked like something. The Von Erichs, of course, but each one got progressively a little smaller than the brother before. Yeah.
The funny thing about the movie is you can tell that Kevin's the only one alive because, he helped fill in the gaps, fill in things. But in real life, Kevin was not bigger than Kerry physically.
No.
In the movie, he was so much bigger. He was the biggest Von Erich, jacked. I'm like, that's not even nowhere near the truth.
That's why I didn't watch that movie.
That drove me crazy.
It would have annoyed me. That
did.
Movie would have annoyed me because I didn't watch it for that reason because I knew it was there's some continuity, there's some flaws in it that are going to bother you.
What about would you have the out in Oregon, Sandy Barr was a referee. His kid was Jesse Barr and Art Barr, the juicer.
Sure.
Now, if your father's a referee, does that make you a second generation wrestler? Or?
Yes.
Oh, it does?
It does as far as I'm concerned, and now that's two different examples where son of referee becomes wrestler because Katsuyori Shibata's father in New Japan, he was a referee.
Oh, okay.
And they always said, second generation. I think it works.
Well, my dad
second
refereed.
Generation, huh?
My dad refereed.
He did? For who?
This Independence and stuff.
Where, up in Michigan for the Sheik?
No, down here.
No kidding.
In Florida. Yeah.
What's his name?
I don't consider myself a second generation wrestler, but he did go out there and referee.
What was his refereeing name?
Chucky T. His name was Chuck Thompson, so they called him Chucky T. Yeah, my dad.
That's right. He's a referee.
Yeah, he was horrible though.
When
don't ever put him in my match.
no,
He's one of those referees that thought, I told you 5, I'm going to make you break up and all that kind of stuff, you know?
take it easy, pal.
Sort of like, who was some of those guys that those old wrestlers that refereed?
Like Bronco Lubitsch?
No, in WCW they had, not Von Roski, but the, one of the other one of the guy did the claw. He was an AWA guy. They were just horrible referees.
Oh, who was that?
Yeah, it's driving me crazy now.
Well, somebody will tell us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
they
you
trust
have...
me. They leave so many comments now. When I told you my Mount Rushmore, I got, what about Undertaker? What about Cena? What about Shawn Michaels? What about this? It's my perspective. So in the comments, you can write all you want. And there was a lot of arguments. I mean, it got political. I had to delete some comments and everything. It got a little heated. It was good.
Damn. Well, good. That's getting some heat. Then, of course, you have the fake. Then, of course, we have the fake family tree, the sports entertainment family trees, like the Andersons. And that there was only one Anderson, Gene Anderson, and everybody else was a wrestler that was booked to be family. Cousin
TV
was
family.
the most common.
TV family.
TV family, with Arn Anderson being the most famous.
TV. Yeah.
And but the family continues with Arn's real life son Brock and TV family CW Anderson.
Right.
Now as a team. So they're continuing on with the Anderson tag team wrestling name, and Brock.
MLW.
Yeah, they do that there. I've seen them on some independents. I saw them at AML. I think they're great. I love both those guys. I think they're fantastic.
I think Brock just has to get some reps in. You know,
yes.
You know, that's the problem. There's not wrestling to go to wrestle. Even if you get hired with WWE, you know, they don't wrestle every single night. So there's no place to get the reps, and you got to go out there and wrestle. Like I said, I said it took me 5, maybe even 10 years to know what I was doing, and I wrestled all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine how many. It's like you ask how long you been in the business. No, how many matches have you had in the business?
Right.
You know, I've been in business 15 years. I've wrestled like 10 times a year. I've had 150 matches in 15 years. Okay, you've wrestled a year, if that.
It's rough. Even the top wrestlers in New Japan now, the numbers of live events have gone down. So even if they wrestle on every show, they're still at like 90 to 110 matches in a year.
Wow.
So it's not like it used to be, and it's difficult to get that experience.
WWE with with the TKO and all that, it's not changing anytime soon. It's definitely turned into a television product.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the whole streaming is switching over to ESPN?
I did.
People are really upset about having to pay $29 a month now.
Only if you're not a subscriber. So if you have a subscription service through cable or through Hulu, then you will be able to see WWE PLEs. It's included. You don't have to go out and order them separately. You just have to be a subscriber.
Do you have cable? Because I don't.
I don't have cable, but I'm a Hulu subscriber.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so am I.
It's the only thing that I can't see that's not included are the fights, the UFC main events, and those types of things. But they are definitely listed as a pay-per-view.
I wonder if the buy rates on those things are as good as, or are they kind of watering themselves down now?
I think they probably are way low. They're enough to where they're still doing them. And let's not forget that ESPN is paying UFC to put these events on, so they have the programming.
I wonder if they had made a package deal to have UFC and WWE because they're under the parent company of TKO.
I think they could, and
Or if
but
they, if you don't pick up WWE, we might just have to go somewhere else with the UFC.
maybe
Yeah,
one helped the other.
sure.
No matter what WWE wants, no matter what TKO wants to do right now, they're doing.
Yeah,
And that goes back to one of our first points with bringing Brock Lesnar back, or charging or not charging, moving the product from Netflix over to ESPN. They don't care. Vince was
right.
very calculated in studying, if I make this move, then what? Which
Right.
led to a lot of action, inaction, action. But at the same time, there's no going back from these decisions. They don't care, and if they need to, they'll
Yeah,
just
because they
reverse
just care
course.
about this quarter right now.
Yeah, that's it. We
What's our numbers going to look like?
we turned John Cena. Okay, we'll just turn him back.
Yeah. Did he
Okay.
turn back, right? Or
Yeah, it was flattered 4 o'clock. It was dead. But then, of course, everybody got the turn, and they got, the take the bow Cena at SummerSlam, his last SummerSlam,
right?
and then the music hit, and people went holy poop and F5, and so there you go. And
Yeah.
I'm watching, as I'm watching the fan cam footage from SummerSlam at the moment, because they're all recording with their phones. They're all recording
Sure.
John Cena's last moments. And you hear a couple people saying, I think something else is going to happen. I think something else is going to happen. Nobody predicted Brock Lesnar. And
No.
none of the people that I saw shooting these fan cam things turned the camera off and left when Brock Lesnar came out. As soon as the
Right.
strain of music, they
Yeah,
all
I did
pop.
hear. Have you heard where they're saying? I think it's the dirt sheet writers like Meltzer or someone like that, or like it's and when you're trying to work the boys, that basically because no one's telling him anything, so he's kind of getting pissed off.
Right.
Like these
They
different
had to
things that's
work.
happening.
They did such a beautiful job with Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They went the extra mile. Isn't that great? They
Oh, I
went
think
the
it's
extra
awesome.
mile to protect the business.
Yeah.
That on one side, they're completely exposing
Yeah.
on WWE Unreal, and then at
Have
the
you
same
watched that?
time, no, not 1 second.
I watched the whole thing.
All right, is it good? Is it no good?
It's incredible.
Will it drive me crazy? Will I like it or will I hate it?
I enjoyed it only because about, to be honest with you, about 10 years ago, I'm like, and I might have told you about this. I want to do a program because everyone knows the business is at work. I'm going to
Right.
do a program from behind the scenes where you show, basically, my concept was a little different, how you develop, how you, you develop the whole show from A to Z, shooting TV up into the final payoff, which would be a pay-per-view. So
Mm-hmm.
it was, say, um, what series is 13 weeks, so 13 weeks of it showing how you're building the storylines and all that. Then you see how it's executed out there, and then basically where it goes develops into a pay-per-view, all the stuff you've done, how it will unfold at the pay-per-view where you get your big payoff and everything. I
Right.
wanted to do that like 10 years ago, and now they did.
Obviously they see the same thing that you saw,
Yeah.
and has a familiar feel to it. I'm always reticent to dive in and watch quote unquote reality shows because I know they're all scripted BS. And even
Right.
a show like this that's supposed to pull back the curtain on something that is live and happening in real time in front of them, it's scripted and it's controlled and it's some BS, some real.
Right.
Um,
There's a lot of hugging Triple H though.
yeah,
And people were like,
they
"Oh, he has to stroke his ego more and all that." I'm like, what they don't understand, if it was Vince, the guy in power, that's the guy who's going to get all the hugs because
right,
he's the boss.
exactly.
Just it's just how it is.
You come over and and I learned how to talk to wrestlers when they get done with the match from Vince. You know, is everything okay,
Sure.
pal? You all right? You hurt? Anything, you know? And then obviously sometimes, and Bruce and I would talk about it, Vince yelling at them right away, because that's the first thing that's on his mind. Let's make sure that we're talking to him first, and we're asking them if they're okay. Everything all right? You all right? Nobody hurt? Nobody hurt? Everybody okay? Good. Whew. All right. Get
There's
get
one
some
point in
water
the
and
show where Abyss was the agent on the match.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how much input or how much control the agent has on the matches to where they know okay, this is coming up next, so they're letting everyone in the truck know all this stuff, and then they're over on their time on one of the matches, so he's like telling them to tell the referee the best spot to cut out is this spot for get us back on time, and they're like 2 minutes over, and he's like to Pritchard to Bruce, oh, I'm sorry, we went 2 minutes over, like making a big deal out of it. And he's like, it happens, it's live TV, it is what it is.
Right.
So it was interesting. I watched it with my girl, and she seemed to really enjoy it, and I actually did too. I mean, a lot of stuff in the gorilla position and the writers' room and stuff like that. There's a few people that would stand up and say, "No, I don't like that. I think it should be something like this," and um, so it was. I thought I enjoyed it. From a wrestler's perspective.
I think I know just about everybody that would be involved in that show. Either I've worked with them side by side, like Adam Pearce. I know he's involved, and I know, of course, Carino's involved to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And those types of guys. We'll see.
How. Speaking of second generation wrestler, Carino's kid.
Yep. And Carino's kid's got a broken neck. Something happened to him.
Oh, wow.
Had to have emergency surgery.
Wow.
And it looked like from where the patch was sitting in the front, looked like that was where the incision went in, which says to me that they had to do some sort of emergency fusion surgery.
Yeah, mine's right here.
Yeah. And it's not like you can never wrestle again. It's just they had to go in and fix whatever it was immediately.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys wrestled with fusions. I wouldn't want to do it.
No, guys wrestle with broken necks. My goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those types of things happen in. Everybody knows that they're friends and they're buddies and they hang out together. So being able to see wrestlers come back through the curtain and hug each other as opponents is not going to bother anybody that sees this show. That's not going to be earth-shattering.
Right.
So those types of things are allowed to be seen, and it's not going to shock anybody.
Yeah.
But how far behind the scenes do we go? Do we get into any contract stuff? Do we get into any business stuff? Or is it just the making of the show?
A little bit. Nothing about numbers or anything. So I would like to see that, you like that.
Yeah. I want to see.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Who gets the final word, on whether or not so-and-so gets a push, so-and-so gets the title match, because they could point out concrete numbers that say this person does this on this occasion. And,
they had a little thing with Chelsea Green, how she was talking, how she got brought in, then she got released, and then she called Hunter and said, "Can I come back?" And there was like, "Okay." And then they done something with her, made her the first women's United States champion.
Right.
And stuff like that. I did find it funny. The one girl makes all of her outfits, the one with the real long hair that whips everyone with it.
Bianca Belair.
Bianca? Yeah. Apparently she makes all of her outfits.
Wow.
So I thought that would be pretty interesting.
Did you recognize any of the other people that were working behind the scenes, like the seamstresses or production people, or did you see anybody that you knew that you were like, oh, I didn't even know they worked there?
I would have to go back and watch, but no. I mean, I seen like Jamie Noble. I knew him way, way, way before. Yeah, there's some people I seen. I was like, oh, I didn't know they worked there, but they're one of the boys,
Gotcha.
So
it was it's fascinating how all of that changes. And ESPN, I saw Mark Madden with the quote that ESPN is becoming like MTV when MTV stopped playing music. It's like
Yeah.
Between the talk shows and now sports entertainment, it's like where do sports fans go to see the games?
Right.
But nevertheless, all right. So let's break down now our top 5 in terms of second generation wrestlers. And I'm going to try to think of somebody that second generation is so tough. And the first name that I have to go to is probably, is somebody like a Bret Hart, whose father was, tough, and he had to come follow that reputation, but there was a bit of an age difference too. So like Stu's time, and then Stu was a promoter, and he had to come out of Calgary, and it was tough. And Bret got, Bret had some tough lessons along the way. Came up as a smaller guy in the era of the Giants, so he's got to be there.
I'm going to say one that's going to be very controversial. People are going to boo at me. Jeff Jarrett.
Boo. But you're right.
I know, but you know what? He's 50-some years old?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still making money. Yeah, he's still making money.
And is one of the smartest guys that we've ever known.
Yeah.
And we hadn't even brought his name up until now.
Yeah.
And that's an oversight on our part. But yeah, Jeff Jarrett has to be way up high on the list. Of course, father Jerry Jarrett, and cousins with the Fullers and the Welches and the Fieldses, and you look at
the family has a big vine of wrestlers.
Yeah,
rings all over the place.
Wrestlers, referees, promoters. When you look at somebody second generation, I mentioned him earlier on, and again, it's like somebody that just made everything look so easy was Curt Hennig.
Oh, God, yeah.
And Mr. Perfect was an extension of who he was, because when they had the conversations with him, it wasn't about being the son of Larry the Axe Hennig. It was about the fact that he was just an incredible athlete, and everything he did well.
Yeah. He was great.
I'd throw him right at the top.
Yeah, he'd have to be in it. I would say Barry Windham, because I think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
He would be in mine.
I love Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Were you there? Did you study? Have you studied like the renaissance of Barry Windham in like 90, 92, 93? The way he came back from injury and just became the man, the matches that he was having?
Yeah, I mean, and that was, if my time is correct, Dusty was the polka dot guy at that time.
Yep.
Because Dusty gave us notice he was leaving and coming back as the booker at WCW, and there was like a 3-month period where Barry was kind of doing the book through Dusty when Dusty was still up there in WWF.
Ah, interesting.
I wrestled Barry on TV during that time, and because I seen Barry walking with toilet paper, it was the format of the show where he's on the phone with Dusty and they're scratching out, rewriting it on toilet paper.
Literally on toilet paper. That's incredible.
Yeah, on toilet paper.
Oh my gosh.
It was probably the shits anyhow,
It and then okay. It's almost unfair to say, if you want to throw The Rock in, and how far somebody can go. Jacob Fatu, which I'm not quite sure where he is on the generation. That's the son of Rikishi, correct?
I'm not sure.
I got it. I can't keep all of my Samoan Dynasty, my Bloodline characters straight without a program. I know
there's a lot of them.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I know my 3 sons of Haku, and that's That's what I know. The rest is kind of
and
like,
you know their names, so that's what impresses me the most.
yeah, because I spent so much time with them and worked with them. But when you look at somebody like a Jacob Fatu and how far he could go, certainly the stardom that Roman Reigns has and The Rock has and the staying power of them, there were always like, oh, you got more, Samoans in the business than you can shake a stick at. But now it's like they're all viewed as stars. And
that show I was
that's the
watching, they're
difference.
already prepping Jey Uso's kid. He's like 14 years old.
Wow.
Going to the matches and stuff like that. Back there when they're doing stuff, going to the ring. I guess after they go off the off the air, doing his dance and everything. So I mean, they're already kind of putting that out there.
If you had to flip a coin and you can only pick one, who are you picking in terms of second generation women? Are you taking Charlotte Flair or are you taking Natty Neidhart?
I'm taking Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think her athletic ability is just, for a male or female with her gymnastics background, is just off the charts.
Well, if then that means I'm left with Natalya, that I'm pretty happy with that, because I think she's freaking awesome. And really, to me, it's like 1A. It's not.
Right.
I don't think you're wrong for picking either one. And then
I think she's really helping mold a lot of the girls nowadays.
Well, I think they're moving
Is
her.
she an agent up there now with them?
I've heard a couple of different things, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. I know they allow her and TJ to wrestle, to work out with different people in their gym in Florida, and she is allowed to wrestle on different things like Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, and has done some different things outside of the WWE bubble, which a few years ago was unheard of.
Right.
So it is interesting, and I think part of that is the respect that they have for her, because she is so freaking great.
Right.
And then I don't know, do you have any other second generation guys that you would throw on your top 5? I mean, because I think we would pretty much share our names.
Yeah.
In turn, and Randy Orton would have to be one, right?
Yeah, I mean he's he'd have to. Can't have one without him.
Cowboy Bob never had the star power that Randy has, and was always a good hand and a creative guy and a very, very
he was good,
agile worker.
Right.
So that's interesting. And then second generation referee has to be Brian Hebner, right?
Oh.
Or or what about Nick Patrick?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I think Nick Patrick would have to be on my list. He'd have to be the number one referee. I was thinking about referees too. I was in my mind as we were talking. I'm like, I wonder if there's any second generation referees. But I'm thinking more of a referee that his son was a referee, and that's one of the Hepners, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
like Paul Morton was a referee, and of course Ricky Morton became. I think he reffed some shows, but yeah, Paul Morton was a referee, and Hebner's son.
Have you seen Ricky Morton's kid wrestle?
Yeah, he's not bad.
Oh, really?
He's very talented, very smart, talented kid. Excellent singer.
Oh, really?
Does a lot of different things. I think he makes his own gear as well. Or no,
wow.
He does social media. So he's very artistically creative, and he's worked on his physique, and he's filled out. And I think he's terrific. Kerry Morton is great.
Yeah, Ricky kind of falls in that whole category with Mike Graham.
He's a good storyteller, Case?
Yeah, I mean, Mike's the toughest. No one's better than Ricky.
Well, nobody's ever sold more tickets than Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson.
Never.
hanging
I
off
like
the
them, but
rafters.
yeah.
Yeah. I was at a show. I was booked on a show that drew 14 people that the Rock and Roll Express were on. So there you go. Everything evens out. That was the number 14. All right, so that's going to do it for this edition. You know, of course, as always, share your thoughts. Casey loves getting in fights with people on social media about his opinions here on the In-Ring
No,
Wrestling
I'm just
Podcast.
the referee.
Oh, these are the
Other
people that are
are.
fighting.
I just referee it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, then by all means, don the striped
I'm like,
shirt.
I don't need to say anything because they're off and running on their own, arguing, fighting.
Good.
Getting racial, political. It's great.
Oh gosh. Then you got to block them. Then you got to kick them out. Then it's a whole big thing. But
no one gets blocked.
No. Live to fight another day. We again.
That's right.
Like unlike Tessa Blanchard, unlike those who make mistakes, we do give you second and third chances here in the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast.
She's number one on my list, though.
Number one as far as what on the hit list of good? Or
I think she's great.
Yeah, she's
I think she needs a big run.
Let's
somewhere.
Book her. Let's do it. Not in Pennsylvania. You put her on your show, Casey. That's the thing.
That was my show.
Come on. It's time to bring it back.
Maybe one day.
All right.
Yeah,
maybe one day. Well, so join us next week, of course, as always, new episodes of the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast, the shorts. Everybody's enjoying those, loving those. And, of course, like, share, subscribe on our YouTube page, all across social media. That's where you will find the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast, and join the conversation. And make sure you're commenting as well on our YouTube videos and over on social media. I know we have a really nice Facebook following as well on the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast. So that's going to do it for this edition.
We'll see.
Yep. Oh, and on TikTok with the kids.
TikTok,
you and all the kids on the TikTok, yes. So for Casey Thompson, I'm Kevin Kelly. We'll see you next week right here on the In-Ring Wrestling Podcast.